Let's bring in Richard Johnson. He's a senior lecturer in US politics at Queen Mary University of London. Thank you for joining us, Richard. I mean, there was a lot to take in, wasn't there, from this report? But what's the headline for you?
Well, we're still digesting it, but I think the big headline is that Donald Trump is squarely the protagonist in this story. This isn't a story about people around Trump, going rogue, going off piste, doing things without the president's knowledge, and so on. You know, Trump is the one who's driving this entire story. He wants, in a sense, to overturn the election because he's embarrassed that he lost. That seems to come out from it, and that people around him, there are some who are ginning him along, but there are also quite a few of them who know that what he's saying is wrong, he's doing is wrong, but they're trying to placate him. So, in a sense, this is the most valuable outcome of this is to put the finger squarely at Donald Trump.
But that, according to his supporters, wouldn't be surprising, would it? It plays to his narrative in a way that the establishment is out to get him. Until he's actually found guilty of something, he can almost use this, can't he, as part of his campaigning?
Well, certainly in the context of this highly partisan political culture in the United States, that would be a likely response from the Trump side. I think from the perspective of this report, the House has done what it can do in the context of that highly partisan environment. It was an achievement to get even two Republicans onto that committee to cooperate. But you're right that the next step, really, whether or not there are criminal prosecution steps to criminally prosecute Trump are taken, that is trickier. And that is going to be more politically fraught for the Justice Department. And they have to tread more carefully, I think, than this House committee was able to do.
I mean, the committee effectively says the January 6th wouldn't have happened without Donald Trump. But that's very difficult to prove, isn't it, in a court of law when he wasn't actually there?
That's right. And the standard, of course, in a court of law is beyond a reasonable doubt. And that's a higher standard than this committee, which is about the weight of evidence that they have heard. I mean, this is an extremely impressive report. This is a report that I think will go, if not quite to the level, but getting close to the level of the Warren Commission or the 9/11 Commission reports. Over 1,000 interviews. Extremely extensive inquiry. But at the end of the day, this is almost, from the perspective of prosecutors, this is kind of a symbolic set of evidence. This is not the case that a prosecutor can just put out. And prosecutors will have to hold their cards a bit closer to their chest as time goes on. But of course, the timing is out of sync here because the House needed to move on this because the Democrats are about to lose control of the House, and the committee would be almost certainly wound up if they tried to press on until next month.
And what about the idea that he could be barred from office because he broke the Constitution by prompting effectively an insurrection? That's not a legal decision, is it? That's something that politicians will decide.
That's right, and therefore I think it's going to be rather unlikely, given the Republican control of the House of Representatives. I think any kind of statutory response to this is very unlikely. It's I suppose that you could possibly see a world where maybe a decade or two ago, a few Republicans might have peeled off, and you could have got something through. But I think now, given the sharp partisanship in the House, the Republicans are going to be calling the shots there for the next 2 years, and they're not going to want to try to do anything to destabilize Donald Trump.
In terms of all the legal challenges facing him right now, which do you think is his most threatening?
Well, I think some of this stuff that's going up on in New York, some of his tax stuff, some of his business dealings. We had his tax returns released this week. All of that is embarrassing for him, and I think he takes some of that quite personally because he's he's sensitive about the idea that perhaps his business success is not quite on the level that he wants it to be. Um, on the other hand, and so some of that will also cost him money, which I think is going to could be damaging for him. In terms of where the political ramifications go on this, I think as with him standing as a candidate, it is going to make things harder for the federal prosecution, for the Justice Department, for the special counsel, Jack Smith, to really be too heavy hitting with him while we're in the context of this presidential election. And so, if nothing else, his candidacy at the moment is a temporary insurance option that I thought he was almost certainly going to pursue, and it turns out he has.
Okay, Richard Johnson, thank you.